everybody. It's Stewart Swerdlow for Expansions.com, and this is our news podcast for the second week of June 2016. And you'll have to excuse the way I read my notes because as I returned from my very long trip to Europe, I developed an eye allergy from all the pollen here in the Midwest, which just suddenly poofed out of the trees and the grass and who knows what else. So forgive me for the way my eyes were a little bit red. No, I'm not taking drugs or drinking because Janet is away. I am just suffering from eye allergies, and I will do my best to read coherently. And as you may know, Janet is now in Italy on her journey to the Alps and the Clear Energy Tour, and I am flying the Expansions plane all by myself without a co-pilot. So here we go. First, before we begin the brief news that I have, I want to thank the people that I met and helped me during my trip across Europe. First, the people of Iceland. Great people. Thank you for the wonderful friends for helping with everything, especially Arnbjörg, Arni, and Svana. And a special thank you to my friend Jakob from Denmark, who started my birthday celebration by giving me gifts 6 months early. So I decided, since he did that I'm going to celebrate for 6 months. So I know I mentioned to you about my birthday being in November, but I will accept gifts from this point forward, right until my birthday, and maybe even till Christmas. So I'm leaving it all up to you for that. And by the way, as far as global warming is concerned, Iceland in the middle of May, end of May, still snow on the mountains, still cold air coming down from the north, and Greenland, ice throughout the sea around Greenland and snow on the mountains and on the land. So I don't care what they say on the news, it's just normal snow conditions up north. Onward to Holland, I want to thank Claudia and Elvia for arranging everything and taking good care of me. I think I mentioned in my blog, if you read it, that Claudia had rented a car to come to pick me up at Amsterdam airport, and then I did an interview in downtown Amsterdam for a magazine. But on the way down to Hoofden, I think I pronounced that right, it's a little town by the Belgian border, and that's where I did my seminar. The car had a lot of problems. It stalled. At one point it wouldn't start at all, and she had to return the car to the rental place, and they said in 30 years of business they've never seen such a sabotage to a car. The spark plugs were cut, there was something wrong with the back of the car, and they said it was a very, very dangerous situation. So a little sabotage going on over there. And this little town of Hoofden is famous for crop circles. It's right by the border by Belgium and Germany, that little corner of Holland. There's many, many interesting people that I met there, including a lady who runs a Dutch charity for abused children, which we're thinking of connecting up to that. By the way, Amsterdam airport, and this never was like this before, very, very strict security. They even wanted me to take my shirt off. Now, of course, maybe the lady that asked me to do that was just interested in me, but she made me use like 5 bins for my 2 carry-on luggage and examined everything, and then after it went through, they examined it even more. So, not happy with Amsterdam airport. I'm going to try to avoid that one from now on. But then in Poland, and as always, Poland is super, and it's my new favorite country, as you well know. Look, Polska. I'm wearing that just for the Polish people. The food is the best in the world, and I want to give a special thank you to Madeline for all that she does for me, and for my early birthday gift. Also, she gave me a birthday gift and took me to Rzeszów, which is the town my grandmother came from in the southern part of Poland. I'm the first person in my family to return to Rzeszów in 112 years. So that was very, very special, and it was certainly very emotional and charged with the energy. Yes, in 112 years it's changed quite a bit, but I discovered more about the history. It's the province of Galicia in southern Poland, and I found out that this location had been occupied by Swedish Vikings and then by Russians. So it seems the Russians and the Swedish Vikings are always in my history, no matter what side of the family I go to. Just can't get away from those two groups. Wausau is my new favorite city. Really super people and super food. I even met Max Spears, my friend, the super soldier, and we shared a lot of information. I also want to give a special thank you to my new international publisher, Monica Duval, for creating all my books in Polish and other languages. And well, I'll tell you what, I think I mentioned briefly on my last blog about the hybrids that I met. Actually came for consultations with me in Poland, and they were very different than the usual hybrids that you hear about. And I'm going to talk more about that in the September spectacular class, and hopefully that you'll come. But what's interesting is while I was doing these consultations with these people, one of whom works for the Polish government, helicopters, Polish military helicopters, were hanging outside my window. There were no military bases nearby where I was, so they had to come from a bit of a distance. And then Polish troops started marching down at the square below my window. So it was very, very interesting. And after that, we went outside, took pictures, and we realized several hours later that there were UFOs appearing over my head. And I believe that they are posted on Facebook. So you can take a look at that if you haven't already. But I'll be getting into more of that. Madeline and I will be joining forces to create a new international annual conference in Wausau, and that will be starting this October 28th, 2016. It's called Open Your Mind, and stay tuned for more details for the guests and the times, etc. Then we drove to Germany, and on the way to Germany, before we left Poland, the plane was buzzed by U.S. fighter jets. There were military convoys on the highway. It was really a little bit like, Cold War times, and maybe even pre-World War II. So a lot of stuff is going on. And I will also mention to you that I was told in Poland that there's a new Slavic movement where they want all the Slavic people underneath one umbrella government, and even connected to Russia and the new Soviet Union. So that's very interesting as well. And in both Poland and Germany and even Holland, everyone prefers Putin over Obama or any other U.S. government official. Now, back to Germany. Berlin is always interesting, and I want to thank my friends and sponsors there, Agnieszka, Valente, and Hendrik Dinse, who arranged all and take very good care of me. I also met with Professor Dr. Edinger from Bonn, the Russian Institute of Space Medicine, and he has asked me to work with him again in the future, and I'll be going there in September to work with his staff, etc., and there'll be more information as time goes on. The food and the beer in Germany is always good, and I think I mentioned that I spent time at a place where Hitler and the SS and the Gestapo also had beer and food, and that was very interesting. It seems like history starts to go backwards and repeat itself. By the way, the Germans told me that they do not like Angela. They want her to go away. And the Germans are afraid to speak up about the refugees because they said to me that they could actually lose their jobs by saying anything negative against them, because they would be considered to be racists. And of course, as we know, Germany has a reputation from the past about that, so they're very, very cautious. Now getting on to some current news. Just hours ago, before filming this podcast, of course, there was the killing in Orlando by a Muslim so-called terrorist who was born in New York City of Afghan parents, who shot up a gay bar in Orlando, killing a minimum of 50 people and injuring well over 50 people as well. There's not much more information I have at this point because it just happened. But remember, just a day or so ago, the singer from The Voice was shot after her concert and while she was signing autographs. So something is going on in Orlando. And what is close to Orlando? Disney World and that big castle tower that broadcasts ELF and microwave all over central and northern Florida. So, and as I always say, when there's two incidents in one place, there'll be a third. So people in Orlando, don't go into crowded places and keep yourselves safe. Use violet protection. Now let's go back to Germany, but to the Bilderberg conference, which is taking place at a hotel in Dresden, Germany. Interesting about Dresden, it was firebombed completely during World War II. There was nothing left. But I was there in 2012, and actually it's quite a nice city now, all rebuilt. The only original structure is a very black-looking cathedral in the middle of the city, which I guess was not touched by the fire or the war. But every year, the Bilderberg conference has about 150 of the world's most powerful people attend. Now, according to the news, it was set up in 1954 to improve relations between Europe and the U.S. That's a bunch of hogwash. You know why it was set up, and then it goes on to say, but conspiracy theorists believe it's a secretive group that controls the world. Yeah, it is. And they said that it's a cover for the Illuminati. Now, this isn't conventional news, so that's very interesting. This year, the meeting will take place at the Kempinski Hotel in Taschenburg Palace in Dresden, Germany. And according to, again, this information on the news, that the group was founded by Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, and it has Nazi connections, and we know that this is true. And the article questions why there are no Russians, Chinese, Japanese, Indians, or Arabs at the meeting. And that's a very good question. The list is dominated by Europeans and North Americans, and that's true. By the way, in Poland, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, everyone is worried about the troops at the border, the fighter jets, the convoys on the highway. Everyone likes Putin, so he's in a good position in Eastern Europe, and I think we're going to see a lot of changes in Europe in the next few months. Back to the United States, a 5.2 earthquake shook Southern California a few days ago, and it was followed up by many aftershocks. One person said the earthquake felt like a bus hitting his home. Now, 5.2 is considered a moderate earthquake. It's not severe, but it did cause, things falling off the shelves and that kind of thing. But it's happening very close to an area where there's a lot of tension and locked up stress in the ground, and I believe this is a precursor to a much larger earthquake, which I mentioned for the last few podcasts, which is about to hit Southern California. We also need to know that there have been quakes this past week in all places, Nova Scotia. Who ever heard of earthquakes in Nova Scotia before? But there's also been earthquakes in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nevada, and Hawaii, as well as many other places around the Pacific Rim, which are getting very, very active. There's a lot of movement and larger quakes in Central America, and even into South America and into the Caribbean. And speaking of the Pacific area, El Nino is gone from the Pacific Ocean, which caused all the weather anomalies, supposedly. Now it's in a neutral state, but with a 75% chance of La Nina forming by October, if not earlier. And when La Nina forms, it's always leading to a very cold winter and a snowy winter in North America and Europe, so stay tuned for that, people. Just briefly about the near future, in September, again, I will be going back to Germany, as I mentioned to you. And we also have our September Spectacular, which is listed on the website, expansions.com. And I will be revealing a lot more information about the hybrids and history that I'm researching still, and formulating all new information to connect to my past information and add to all of what I've told you in the past. In October, I'll be going back to Poland again to do a conference at the end of October, as I mentioned to you. Also another seminar in Berlin. And I may also be doing seminars in Hungary, Holland, and I have been invited to a conference in the third week of October in Tucson, Arizona, and that will be on the site soon. There's also a request for me to be in Spain and South America. We'll see how that's coming along. New books are almost out. Hyperspace Plus is almost ready. I just got the mock-up version of it to go through, so it's just about ready to be printed. The website is also being reworked with a new logo, a new site, much easier to traverse than you have before. And speaking of Hungary, I have connected to a researcher named István Lokse, who I'll be doing a series of interviews with him that will be posted online. and they will be related to ancient history and the true story of mankind. Hopefully you've seen my show that I did on History Channel, and thank you for the nice comments that you've sent in. Janet will be back in a couple of weeks, so I'll be doing the next podcast on my own, and hopefully by then my eyes will clear up and I'll be able to read better and do more research and give more stories to you. So until next time, it's Stewart Swerdlow for Expansions.com.